The council chamber was silent, filled with shadows and cold light. The great leaders of the galaxy sat in high seats, their faces hidden behind masks of power and pride. At the center stood one man, an Earthborn. His name was Commander Adrian Kane. His uniform was worn from battle, his face marked with scars of survival. He had come with proof of his people's strength, but the council did not see strength. They saw threat. "You humans are reckless," one of the councillors spoke, his voice deep and sharp. "You bring chaos wherever you step. You disobey orders. You fight wars that were forbidden." Adrian clenched his fists, but he kept his voice calm. "We survived because we had no choice. While your fleets debated, Earth fought. While your treaties held you back, we bled. And we won. That is not chaos, it is survival." The chamber buzzed with whispers. Some of the councillors looked uneasy. Others looked angry. The oldest among them rose slowly. His robe shimmered with golden threads, his mask heavy with symbols of authority. "Earth is guilty," he declared. "For ignoring the commands of this council, for building weapons beyond what was allowed, for challenging the balance of power. Earth is no longer welcome. You are banished." The words hit Adrian like a blade. Banished. Cast out. His world, his people, everything they had built, cut off from the galaxy. Adrian's eyes moved across the chamber. Not a single hand rose in Earth's defense. Not a single ally spoke. The council turned their backs as the guards approached. But Adrian did not bow. His voice carried across the chamber like thunder. "Remember this day. You think Earth is weak, but you will see. You will see us rise." The guards dragged him away, but his words echoed long after he was gone. Far away, beneath the steel skies of Earth, the people waited. They had heard whispers of the council's judgment. They had seen their commander enter the chambers of power. Now they saw him return, not as an ally of the galaxy, but as an outcast. When Adrian stepped down from the starship, the soldiers and citizens gathered around him. Their faces were tired, worn by years of war and struggle, but their eyes searched his face for hope. He looked at them, and for a moment, the weight of failure crushed his chest. Then he remembered the words he had spoken inside the chamber. He would not break. He would not let Earth fall. "They cast us out," Adrian said, his voice strong. "They think we are finished. They think without their trade, without their fleets, without their help, we will die. But they do not understand us. We are not finished. We are only beginning." The crowd erupted in voices, shouts of anger and pride. For centuries, Earth had been the smallest of the council worlds, always struggling for scraps of power, always told what they could not do. Now, cut off, they had only themselves. But that meant freedom. The night sky above Earth burned with stars. In secret hangars deep underground, machines roared to life. Engineers worked without sleep, scientists drew plans on glowing screens, and soldiers trained in silence. If the galaxy would not accept them, then Earth would build something greater. But whispers spread through the stars. Some alien traders carried messages back to the council. Earth was preparing fleets. Earth was testing weapons. Earth was no longer afraid. In hidden corners of space, other civilizations listened. Some were afraid. Some were curious. Some even admired. For the first time, the galaxy began to speak of humans not as weak, not as reckless, but as dangerous. Adrian stood alone in the command center, watching the construction of new starships through the glass. Ships larger than any Earth had built before. Ships designed not for defense, but for conquest. He felt the weight of choice pressing on him. Were they becoming what the council feared? Or were they simply becoming what they were meant to be? He whispered to himself, "They banished us to weaken us. But all they did was set us free." And far beyond the stars, the council watched, uneasy. For deep in their hearts, they knew a truth they dared not speak. The day would come when the council's decision would be remembered as their greatest mistake. The engines of Earth's new fleet thundered in secret hangars. Metal wings stretched across the sky, ships gleaming like silver predators waiting to strike. The workers moved quickly, as if every second mattered. They were no longer building for defense, they were building for survival. Commander Adrian Kane walked through the hangar with steady steps. The people saluted him, But he saw more than respect in their eyes. He saw hunger. Hunger for freedom. Hunger for revenge. At his side walked Dr. Alara Miles, the chief scientist of Earth's new program. She carried a tablet glowing with blueprints of strange designs. Ships that had never existed before. Weapons the Council would have banned. They think we are broken, Alara said, her voice sharp. They think without them we cannot move forward. But look, our people are working harder than ever. Do you feel it, Adrian? Something is changing. Earth is not weak anymore. Adrian nodded, though his eyes were cold. Yes. But strength is dangerous. If we rise too fast, the galaxy will see us as a threat. They will come for us. Ilara's lips curved into a faint smile. Then let them come. We will be ready. Across the stars, in the shining halls of the Council, the whispers grew louder. Reports of Earth's activities reached their ears. Traders spoke of starships larger than warcruisers. Spies reported on hidden weapons tests. The councillors gathered once again, their masked faces heavy with concern. They are building an empire, one councillor hissed. We cast them out, and now they rise against us. Another slammed his hand on the table. They were warned. They were forbidden. Yet they defy us. We must crush them before they grow too strong. But the oldest councillor, the one who had declared Earth's banishment, raised his hand for silence. His golden robe shimmered, his voice calm but cold. Do not act in fear, he said. Humans are bold, yes. Reckless, yes. But they are still small. Their world is but one. Their fleets, though strong, are few. If they dream of empire, they will collapse under their own weight. Let them burn themselves out. We will watch. We will wait. But not all agreed. Some felt unease. For they remembered the look in Adrian Kane's eyes when he had spoken of Earth's rise. They remembered the strength in his voice. And deep inside, they feared that waiting might be their doom. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the first of the new ships was ready. It was called Vanguard. Its hull was black steel with silver edges, its engines glowing with raw power. It was larger than any ship Earth had ever built. The moment it lifted into the sky, the ground shook as if the planet itself roared in pride. Crowds gathered to watch, their voices rising like thunder. For the first time, Earth saw not just survival, but destiny. They were no longer a small world begging for a seat at the Council. They were something greater. Something new. Inside the command deck of the Vanguard, Adrian stood at the captain's chair. The crew around him worked with precision, each movement filled with determination. He placed his hand on the console, feeling the pulse of the ship beneath his fingers. This is more than steel, Adrian said. This is hope. This is the answer to the Council's judgment. They cast us into the dark. Now we will light our own path. The Vanguard launched into space, engines blazing. The stars opened before them, endless and waiting. But danger was never far. At the edge of Earth's system, a scout ship appeared. Not human. Not friendly. It carried the mark of the Council. The Vanguard sensors caught it at once. The crew stiffened, waiting for Adrian's command. Do we engage? The weapons officer asked, his finger hovering over the controls. Adrian studied the screen. The Council had sent spies, perhaps even assassins. But this was Earth's chance to send a message. No, Adrian said at last. Not yet. We let them watch. We let them see what we are becoming. And when the time comes, we will show them the full measure of our strength. The crew obeyed, though tension filled the air. The scout ship lingered for hours, watching every move. Then it vanished back into the void, carrying its report to the Council. Back in the Council chamber, the news arrived quickly. The humans had launched a warship. A warship greater than anything they had been allowed to build. The room filled with outrage, fear, and debate. They will not stop, one councillor shouted. They will challenge us all. But the oldest councillor only whispered, almost to himself, perhaps they already have. On Earth, Adrian stood at the viewport, watching the Vanguard drift among the stars. He knew war was coming. He knew the Council would not stay silent forever. But deep inside, he also knew something else. The future no longer belonged to the Council. It belonged to Earth. And this was only the beginning. The stars were quiet, but everyone on Earth knew the silence would not last. The Vanguard floated like a shadow among the planets, its engines humming low, its weapons hidden but ready. Commander Adrian Kane stood at the front of the command deck, staring into the endless dark. He knew what was coming. The Council would not ignore Earth's rise for long. Dr. Elara Miles entered, carrying new data on her tablet. Her eyes glowed with excitement. "We did it," she said softly. "The new drive system is ready. Faster than anything the Council has. We can move across the stars before they can even react." Adrian turned toward her, his face unreadable. "And when we arrive, what then? Do we fight? Do we conquer? Or do we show them another way?" Elara looked at him with sharp eyes. "They will not listen. They fear us. And fear always leads to war." Adrian knew she was right. The Council would not allow Earth to rise in peace. Already their scouts had come. Already they were watching. Soon, the storm would break. Far away, in a star system at the edge of Council space, the first clash was brewing. A human colony ship, carrying settlers to a distant world, was intercepted by a Council patrol. The patrol was small, but its commander was arrogant. "Turn back," the alien captain ordered, his voice echoing through the comms. "By decree of the Council, your kind has no right to expand beyond your homeworld. You are forbidden." The settlers on board froze. Fear filled the ship. They had families, children, dreams of a new life. They had no weapons, no defense. But then a shadow crossed the stars. The Vanguard arrived. Its dark hull gleamed as it blocked the patrol's path. Silence fell across the comms. "This is Commander Adrian Kane." Adrian's voice cut through the silence like steel. "These colonists will continue their journey. If you wish to stop them, you must go through us." The Council patrol hesitated. Their ships were fast, but the Vanguard was larger, stronger. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the alien captain sneered. "You dare defy us? You dare stand against the Council?" Adrian's answer was calm, but it carried fire. "We do more than dare. We choose our own path. And we will not kneel again." The first shot was fired. The battle exploded across the void. Bright streams of energy lit the darkness, ships twisting and turning like hunters in the night. The Vanguard moved with speed no one expected, its new drive making it faster than the enemy could track. Its cannons roared, tearing through the patrol's shields. But the enemy was many, and the Vanguard was only one. Sparks burst across its hull as enemy fire struck. Inside, the crew worked with steel nerves, every hand steady even as alarms screamed. Adrian stood tall, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Target engines, not lives. Send them home with a message." One by one, the patrol ships were crippled, their engines shattered. They drifted helplessly, unable to continue the fight. Adrian gave the order to cease fire. On the comms, the alien captain's voice returned, weak and furious. "This is not the end. You have declared war against the Council." Adrian stared into the screen, his face hard as stone. "No. The Council declared war when they banished us. Now, we only answer." The comm went silent. The patrol ships fled, crawling back toward Council space with their broken pride. The settlers watched in awe as the Vanguard escorted them safely to their new home. For the first time, humans had not bowed. For the first time, they had stood against the Council, and won. Word of the battle spread like wildfire across the galaxy. In hidden stations, in quiet colonies, in the halls of the Council itself, the whispers began. Humans had defeated a patrol fleet. Humans had dared to fight. Some feared. Some admired. Some even hoped. For many races had suffered under the Council's cold rule. Now, they saw Earth as something new, a spark in the dark. But victory carried a heavy price. In the Vanguard's medical bay, wounded crew lay in silence. Adrian walked among them, his chest heavy. He had chosen restraint, targeting engines instead of lives, but still his people bled. Elara found him there, her face pale. "You cannot fight a war without sacrifice," she whispered. "Every empire is built on it." Adrian clenched his fists. We are not building an empire of death. If we rise, it will be because we stand for something greater. She looked at him, searching his face. And if the galaxy forces you to choose? If they only respect power? Adrian turned away, his voice low but certain. Then we will show them the power of Earth. But not their kind of empire. Something different. Something stronger. Far across the galaxy, the council gathered once again. The chamber was filled with fury. They dared to strike our patrols, one councillor roared. This cannot stand. But the oldest councillor only lowered his head, his golden robe glowing faintly in the cold light. It has already begun, he whispered. The humans have chosen their path. And we must decide, do we crush them or do we fear them? The chamber fell silent. And in that silence, the galaxy held its breath. Because everyone knew, the war had started. The galaxy did not stay silent after the battle. Word of the Vanguard's victory spread across the stars like fire in dry grass. Traders whispered about it in distant stations. Soldiers in quiet outposts repeated the story in hushed voices. A single human ship had faced the Council's patrol and won. For some, it was a warning. For others, it was hope. But for the Council, it was an insult too great to ignore. In the Council chamber, fury burned hotter than ever. Masks of silver, bronze, and gold glared at one another as voices clashed. They humiliated us, one shouted. A banished race dares to stand against our fleets. This cannot be allowed. They crippled our ships, another growled. And they let them live. That was not mercy, it was a message. The oldest councillor raised his hand. His golden robe glowed in the chamber's pale light. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. The humans think they are free. They think they are strong. We will remind them who rules the stars. Send the fleets. Burn their hope before it spreads. The Council's war machine moved quickly. Dozens of ships gathered at the edge of Earth's system, their hulls gleaming like blades. They were larger, older, and more numerous than anything Earth had built. When their engines lit the dark, the stars seemed to tremble. Back on Earth, alarms rang through the command centers. Officers shouted across screens, signals flashing from outposts at the system's edge. The Council's armada was coming. In the command deck of the Vanguard, Adrian Kane listened in silence. His jaw was tight, his fists clenched behind his back. Around him, the crew waited for his word. They're not here to scare us, Adrian said at last. They're here to destroy us. Dr. Alara Miles stood beside him, her face pale but her eyes steady. Then we must fight harder than ever. We built the Vanguard for this moment. Adrian's voice was low, but strong. One ship cannot fight an armada. Then we make them believe it can, Alara answered. The sky above Earth burned as the Council's fleet entered orbit. Great shadows crossed the planet's surface, their weapons pointed downward like the eyes of angry gods. The people of Earth looked up in fear, but also in defiance. The first strike came like thunder. Beams of energy rained down toward Earth's defenses. But before they could hit, the Vanguard rose from the atmosphere like a black spear. Its cannons roared, intercepting the attack, tearing through the fire. The battle had begun. The Vanguard moved like lightning, its new drive turning it faster than the Council expected. It weaved between enemy ships, blasting shields, crippling weapons, forcing the armada to scatter. Explosions lit the void as human fighters, smaller, faster ships, joined the fight, darting around the giants of the Council. Inside the Council fleet, confusion spread. Their commanders had expected an easy victory, not resistance. Not speed. Not strength. But still, Earth was outnumbered. The Council's warships circled closer, their weapons hammering against the Vanguard shields. Sparks flew across its hull. Alarms screamed inside. Shields failing, a crewman shouted. Adrian gritted his teeth. Hold the line. Do not break. The Vanguard fired back, destroying one, then another Council ship. But more came. Always more. On the ground, people watched the skies blaze with fire. Families held each other, soldiers stood ready at the defense lines, and children looked up with wide eyes. For every explosion, every flash, they whispered the same name. Earth. Far away, Hidden in the shadows of a distant moon, another ship watched. It was not human. Its hull was jagged, its engines old. Inside, its crew of alien rebels stared at the battle unfolding. One of them, tall and scarred, spoke in a low voice. "The humans fight the Council." Another laughed bitterly. "They will be crushed. No one survives the Council's wrath." But the tall one did not look away. His eyes glowed with something like respect. "Perhaps. Or perhaps they are different. Perhaps they are what we have been waiting for." The ship remained silent, cloaked in the dark, watching. Waiting. Back in the heart of battle, the vanguard shook under heavy fire. Metal groaned, sparks rained across the command deck. Still, Adrian stood tall. "Target their flagship," he ordered. The crew hesitated. The flagship was enormous, covered in layers of armor, its weapons blazing like a sun. "Do it," Adrian said, his voice like steel. The vanguard's cannons roared, focusing every shot on the massive ship. Bit by bit, its shields faltered, its armor cracked. At last, with a thunderous explosion, the Council flagship split apart, burning into the void. The Council fleet wavered. For the first time, they feared. Adrian's voice carried across the comms. "You came to destroy us. But you will leave knowing this: Earth will never kneel again." The remaining Council ships retreated, dragging their wounded pride with them. The battle was over, but the war was not. Earth had survived, but only barely. The vanguard was scarred, its crew exhausted, its fuel nearly gone. The people cheered their victory, but Adrian's heart was heavy. Because he knew the truth. The Council would return. Stronger. Angrier. And next time, they might not stand alone. He looked into the stars, his voice low. "We cannot fight this war alone. Somewhere out there, we must find allies. Or we will fall." And far away, in the shadow of a cold moon, a rebel ship still watched. Silent. Waiting. The night after the battle was quiet, but the silence felt heavy. Across Earth, the people celebrated, cheering the vanguard's victory, but inside the command center, Adrian Kane did not rest. He knew the truth. The Council had been wounded, not broken. They would return with greater force. Dr. Alara Miles stood beside him, reviewing endless streams of data. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed concern. "The vanguard held, but just barely. If they come with more ships, we cannot stop them alone." Adrian stared at the stars beyond the glass. "Then we cannot remain alone. Somewhere in this galaxy, there must be others who have suffered under the Council's rule. If they fear the Council as we once did, maybe they will fight beside us." Ilara hesitated, then spoke quietly. "And if they fear us more than they fear the Council?" Adrian's answer was firm. "Then we will show them who we truly are." Far from Earth, in the ruins of an abandoned mining world, a small ship approached the vanguard. Its hull was battered, its engines flickering, but it carried no weapons. The crew of the vanguard tensed as the ship drew close. Sensors picked up strange signals, alien, but not hostile. The comms crackled, and a deep, rough voice spoke. "This is Captain Rahkul of the Velari Freeborn. We are not your enemies." Adrian leaned forward. The Velari were a species long whispered about, once proud warriors, now scattered rebels after centuries of Council oppression. He answered carefully. "If you are not our enemies, why do you come?" The screen flickered, revealing Rahkul. His skin was dark and scaled, his eyes sharp with old battles. Behind him, his crew looked thin, tired, but determined. "You fought the Council," Rahkul said. "And you survived. Few can claim such a thing. We have lived in hiding, hunted, broken. But when we saw your battle, we saw something else. A chance." Adrian studied him. "You want to fight them too?" Rahkul's sharp teeth glinted as he smiled. "No. We want to see them fall. And perhaps, together, we can make it happen." The crew of the vanguard was cautious, but Adrian knew this was the chance they needed. He met Rahkul aboard the ruined mining world, the two leaders facing each other in the dark, silent halls of the station. "You should know," Rahkul said, his voice low, "we are not many. Scattered clans, old ships, little fuel. But we hate the Council more than you can imagine. If you rise against them, We will not stop you. We will stand with you. Adrian extended his hand slowly. Then let us stand together. Rahakul gripped his arm with the strength of a soldier. For the first time, Earth had an ally. News of the alliance spread quietly, in secret channels across the stars. Other oppressed races listened. Some dismissed it. Some were afraid. But some began to hope. Back in the council chamber, however, the whispers of alliance reached the ears of the leaders. The humans have made contact with rebels, one councillor spat. They spread like a plague. Another slammed his fist against the table. We should have destroyed them when we had the chance. The oldest councillor's golden robe shimmered faintly in the cold light. His voice was quiet, but every word cut like a blade. Do not underestimate them. They do what no other race dares. They fight. They inspire. And if the oppressed unite behind them, the council itself may tremble. The chamber filled with silence. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of the galaxy felt the shadow of fear. On Earth, Adrian stood on the deck of the Vanguard, watching the Velari ships approach. They were old and battered, nothing like the council's shining fleets. But they were not empty. Inside were warriors who had lost everything, and who now burned with a need for vengeance. Dr. Alara watched beside him. This is only the beginning, she whispered. Adrian nodded. Yes. One ally today. Tomorrow, more. We will show the galaxy that the council can bleed. And when others believe, they will rise with us. Far beyond, in the shadows of another world, a different group watched the humans rise. Small, fragile beings with eyes like glass and voices like whispers. They spoke to one another in secret tones. The humans are dangerous, one said. They are reckless, another agreed. But the smallest among them, with trembling hands, whispered differently. Perhaps they are what we need. And so, across the galaxy, the choice spread like a storm. To fear Earth, or to follow it. Adrian looked into the dark sky and spoke softly, only to himself. They cast us out. But now we return, not alone. Not weak. The council thought they ended us. Instead, they gave birth to something greater. The stars burned quietly. But in their silence, the future was already shifting. The days after the alliance with the Velari changed everything. Earth was no longer alone. For the first time, their ships flew beside another species, scarred, battered, but loyal. The Vanguard and its escorts cut through the stars, moving from world to world, always in secret. Adrian Kane stood at the command deck, watching the fleet grow. What began as one ship was now many. Human fighters trained beside Velari warriors. Engineers traded designs, mixing human innovation with alien experience. Dr. Alara Miles worked without rest. In vast underground labs on Earth, she and her teams built weapons the Council had forbidden for centuries. Faster engines. Stronger shields. Weapons that bent light itself. She called them the tools of survival. But Adrian saw more. He saw the birth of something larger. Not just survival, power. New colonies began to rise on distant worlds. At first, they were small outposts, hidden under thick clouds or buried in ice. Then came larger settlements, cities under domes, stations orbiting strange suns. The Council had banished Earth, but their command no longer mattered. Humans were spreading again, this time without permission, without limits. And wherever they went, they carried a message. Earth will never kneel again. Among the colonies, strange alliances formed. Velari warriors trained human soldiers in ancient battle tactics. Human engineers repaired Velari ships with precision and speed. Slowly, two broken peoples were weaving themselves together into something stronger. One evening, Adrian visited a new colony on the world of Cartes, a red desert planet with twin suns. The settlers greeted him with cheers. Children ran through the dust, shouting the name of Earth as if it were already legend. Rahakul, the Velari captain, stood beside him, watching with arms crossed. Your people spread fast, he said. Too fast. The Council will see. They will strike again. Adrian's voice was calm. Yes. But when they strike, they will no longer face just Earth. They will face all who choose freedom. Rahakul grunted. Freedom. A word with blood behind it. Are you ready to pay the price? Adrian looked at the twin suns. His jaw was tight. We already have. Far away, in secret corners of the galaxy, other species began to whisper. The humans were reckless, yes. Dangerous, yes. But they were also bold. They did not hide from the Council's wrath, they defied it openly. Some races watched and waited. Others reached out quietly, testing if Earth could be trusted. A trickle of allies began to grow. Small rebel fleets joined the cause. Smugglers smuggled weapons to Earth colonies. Traders carried secret messages across the void. And always, the Council listened. In the Council chamber, anger burned hotter than ever. Reports of Earth's colonies arrived daily. Maps showed new settlements spreading like cracks across the galaxy. They are building an empire, one councillor spat. They multiply like vermin. Already they gather allies. If this continues, we will lose control. Another hissed, his voice sharp. Then end it. Gather the fleets. Burn their worlds. Crush them before they spread further. The oldest councillor stood slowly. His golden robe shimmered, his eyes cold. We will not strike yet, he said. Not until all is prepared. When we come, it will be with such force that nothing of Earth remains. Not their ships. Not their colonies. Not even the dust of their world. The chamber fell silent. And in that silence, the death of worlds was already being planned. Back on Earth, Adrian walked through the halls of the new fleet command. Screens glowed with maps of star systems, blue dots marking colonies, red lines marking trade routes. Engineers and officers moved quickly, their faces sharp with focus. Ilara appeared at his side, her eyes bright with fire. We've tested the new drive. It works. With it, we can move between systems faster than anyone. The Council will never see us coming. Adrian studied the glowing maps. Speed is not enough. We need strength. We need numbers. Ilara touched the screen, highlighting the growing clusters of blue dots. Then build more. Build until they cannot ignore us. Build until they fear us more than we fear them. Adrian's voice was steady. We are not building for fear. We are building for freedom. But deep inside, even he wondered, was there truly a difference anymore? On Cartes, under the red sky, the first military academy of Earth's new empire opened. Human cadets trained beside Velari recruits, their chants echoing across the desert. They did not chant the Council's laws. They chanted a single word. Earth. And across the galaxy, the sound of that word began to carry. In the dark of space, the rebel ship that had once watched in silence now moved closer. More ships followed it, from species beaten and broken by centuries of Council rule. For the first time, they did not look at Earth with fear. They looked with hope. And far across the stars, the Council's armadas gathered in secret, waiting for the command to march. The storm was coming. The storm came at last. From the dark edges of the galaxy, the Council's armada descended. Thousands of ships, their hulls glowing with ancient power, their engines shaking the stars. They blotted out suns, they darkened skies, they carried the weight of centuries of dominance. And at the heart of the fleet, the Council's great flagship rose, an enormous fortress of steel and fire, larger than a city, bristling with weapons. It was not just a ship. It was a declaration. The Council had come to end Earth forever. On Earth, alarms screamed. Colonies sent urgent messages. Every screen showed the same image, the armada filling the void. In the command deck of the Vanguard, Adrian Kane stood tall, his hands gripping the rail. Around him, the crew waited for his command. Dr. Ilara Miles looked at him, her face pale but her eyes burning. This is it. If we fail today, everything ends. Adrian's voice was steady. Then we will not fail. Beside them, Captain Rakul of the Velari growled with pride. The Council thinks they come to crush us. Let them learn that we are no longer prey. The fleet of Earth and its allies formed at the edge of the system. Human warships gleamed black and silver, new engines humming with deadly speed. Velari cruisers, scarred and battered, held their line with fierce resolve. And among them, smaller rebel ships from distant worlds joined, fragile, outnumbered, but unbroken. For the first time in history, the oppressed of the galaxy stood together. The comms filled with voices. Soldiers, engineers, colonists, all chanting the same word. Earth. The battle began. The void exploded with light as weapons fired. Earth's ships darted like shadows, faster than the Council had ever seen. Their new drives made them ghosts, striking and vanishing before the enemy could react. The Vanguard led the charge, tearing through enemy lines, its cannons roaring with fire. Adrian's voice carried through every channel. Strike their shields. Break their lines. Fight for freedom. The Council Armada answered with fury. Waves of fire cut across the stars, smashing into Allied ships. One by one, rebels fell, their ships burning in silence. But for every ship lost, more fought harder. Rahakul's voice thundered across the comms. Vaylari. With me. Today we repay every wound. His cruisers slammed into the Council's flank, their cannons blazing until they too began to fall. Inside the Vanguard, alarms screamed. Shields cracked, consoles sparked, smoke filled the air. Shields at 20%, a crewman shouted. Adrian's eyes never left the battle. Hold the line. Do not break. Ilara leaned close, her voice urgent. The flagship. If we can destroy it, the rest may fall. Adrian nodded. Then we end this now. The Vanguard turned toward the massive Council flagship. Its size filled the screens, its weapons burning like suns. Every cannon locked on the human ship. Full power to engines, Adrian ordered. All weapons on my mark. The crew obeyed without fear. The Vanguard surged forward, charging directly into the heart of the Armada. The Council flagship unleashed its fury. Beams of fire ripped into the Vanguard, shaking it to its core. Metal screamed, decks shuddered, sparks rained. But still it flew. Adrian stood tall, his voice a roar. Now. Fire everything. The Vanguard unleashed all its weapons at once. Missiles streaked through the dark. Cannons tore through shields. Energy blasts ripped into the flagship's armor. The giant groaned. Its hull cracked. Explosions tore across its surface. And then, with a soundless roar that shook the stars, the Council's flagship split apart, burning into the void. The Council Armada wavered. For centuries they had never known defeat. Now their fortress was gone, their pride shattered. One by one, their ships turned, retreating into the dark. Cheers erupted across every channel. Humans and Vaylari shouted in triumph. Colonists cried out in hope. For the first time, the Council had been beaten. But victory carried a heavy cost. The Vanguard drifted, its hull torn, its decks in ruin. Many ships had been lost. Thousands had given their lives. In the quiet after battle, Adrian stood at the viewport, his face marked with exhaustion but his eyes burning with fire. They came to end us, he said softly. Instead, we showed them we are not weak. We are not broken. We are not alone. Ilara stood beside him, her hand resting on the glass. This is only the beginning. Rahakul grinned, his teeth sharp in the fading light. The Council will return. But now, they know fear. And when they come again, we will be ready. Across the galaxy, the story spread. The humans and their allies had faced the greatest fleet the Council had ever gathered, and they had won. For the oppressed, it was hope. For the Council, it was a warning. And for Earth, it was the first step toward something greater. An empire not of chains, but of freedom. Forged in fire. Written in blood. Carried by stars. The empire of Earth had begun.